I'm really encouraged to know that I have some fellow board members and colleagues from the Westend Food Co-op here who can help me share the story a little bit. But I'm going to start to tell you my story by framing it with the thing that I do for employment, which is within the co-op world. My work with the Westend Food Co-op is my volunteer hat, but I actually work as the animator of the local organic food co-ops network, which is this provincial network of food and farming cooperatives. And it's a fairly new thing, and it's been really exciting to be part of it through its development over the last almost 4 years. But it arose because the Ontario Co-op Association, which Peter Cameron is with, was noticing this growth of the food and farming sector, and particularly the interest in democracy within that space, and convened a meeting of the groups that were already working in that realm to say, what would it look like if you started to work more closely together? We don't have the capacity to support every sector, and particularly because this one is on the rise, perhaps there is some sort of forum for mutual mentorship or peer support. And we're not sure what that looks like, but let's get in a room and in true co-op style, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out together. So On Co-op convened the very first meeting in 2009 of these groups, and the consensus was we really want to work together. We have a lot to share, and although we may be isolated in different pockets of Ontario, we're all sort of hitting the same walls. We're going through the same challenges within the food systems work that we're doing, but also within the technical assistance needs that we have, the governance training we desire, all these things that make a co-op a co-op. And so the network came together sort of organically, and in 2010 hosted a second meeting in which there was a collective visioning process and a mission and a mandate created to support building cooperative food systems in Ontario. And I was hired around that time, and since 2009 until now, our network has grown from about 15 co-ops to 75 and counting. We get phone calls every week, every other week saying, we're a brew pub, we're interested in starting a cooperative, or we're a group of citizens who's working towards food security in our community. We think the co-op model might fit us. So our network, although we have this commonality of the cooperative model and the food and farming piece at the center, we're kind of situated along every place in the value chain or the food cycle, however you'd like to conceive of that. We have seed co-ops, we have biogas co-ops coming from the waste from grocery stores, we have retail food co-ops, distributor co-ops, processors and manufacturers, food service, microbreweries, I could go on and on. So the only criteria that we have for joining the network is that you're focused on food and farming that is place-based, that is ecological, that is in some way fair or just in terms of trade and labor, and that you are using this cooperative model. So the story that I'm going to tell to you today actually is not about the network. It's about one of the key members of the network, which is the Westend Food Co-op. And I am a board member at this co-op in my role as local organic food co-op network animator. So I'm considered to be a community partner. And Peter spoke a little bit about the multi-stakeholder structure, which I think the Westend Food Co-op, we can say, really was a pioneer of in this province, though the multi-stakeholder model is really borrowed from the solidarity co-ops in Quebec, and around the world there are many examples of multi-stakeholdership cooperatives. But the structure that we use is fourfold stakeholdership. So we have eaters, or consumers, farmers, or producers. Oh, thank you, that's perfect. Workers, we have two at the back here with us. Maybe you could just identify yourselves. And community partners, as I mentioned. And the importance of doing this, I think for the food system specifically, is that we're trying to access some incredibly complex issues around fair wages for the people that are employed, fair wages for those that are producing the food, accessible and affordable, but also healthy, good, clean, fair food for those that are eating. And community partnerships are integral to this whole collaboration between all those groups. So the Westend Food Co-op is complex, and I'm going to show you a bunch of different slides that sort of elucidate what it is we do. We have many different programs, but all towards our bigger objective of food security in Parkdale. So about 7 years ago, all these conversations started around picnic tables and kitchen tables between community members saying, we need a grocery store in our neighborhood, and we need a focus space for collaboration and community development, and we need greater food security for all the members of our community. So it started with simple community food mapping projects, engaging as many individuals as possible, but through the participation of community partners like the Parkdale Activity and Recreation Centre, which continues to be a key partner of ours to this day, the Parkdale Community Health Centre, and many more community agencies that understood the incredible importance of engaging the most marginalized members of our community in order to figure out a solution that would work for their benefit. So here's just an image of the community food mapping processes which were happening for quite some time and which really did inform the development of the co-op as it went. Thanks. So community bonds might be a term you all are familiar with, but at the time when Westend Food Co-op was developing and launching them, it was a term that nobody really knew. And we actually were successful in raising about $180,000 in community bonds in order to capitalize the development process. And this happened through 3 different phases of community bond raising. Lots of different creative advertising. You can see we were recommending people support bonds through their holiday spending and shopping. This image on the bottom left is our youngest ever bondholder. For his birth, his parents and his community bought him a bond. We also had a great story of a couple that were key participants in the development of the co-op who at their wedding did a pass the hat dance and raised the money for a community bond, which became a wedding gift for them and for the co-op as well. So I won't say too much about that, and I know CSI has tons of information about community bonds, but I just want to point out this is a unique financing mechanism that this co-op and several other co-ops in our network have used. So the Sororan Farmers Market, has anyone been there? Fair number of you. I highly recommend you check it out. It's a once-a-week event on a Monday afternoon between 3 to 7 in Sororan Park, and it is the way that the Westend Food Co-op began to develop its community. So long before the store doors opened, we started to host our weekly farmers market as a way to bring people together, to start to introduce the farmers and the consumers to one another, and as a space where we were able to do some of our key planning work. So a lot of our community mapping actually happened at the market itself. And even though the store is now open, many years after the market started, we continued to run the two as joint operations. They're mutually supporting and both serving slightly different markets and serving different functions within our operations, but key to our role. Market bucks are an interesting sort of innovation that the Sororan Farmers Market uses. So if you turn up to the farmers market and you don't have cash on you, you can go to the Westend Food Co-op table and use your debit or credit card to buy some market bucks, which will then allow you to go and shop using these lovely wooden coins at any of the vendors that are there who are participants. So this is another neat innovation. And as I mentioned, this has all been for the aim of community building. And this is just an image from a few weeks ago. We had a country fair at our September 1st farmers market, which was a blast. Lots of music, lots of crafts, lots of people, and a great sort of celebration of all the things that have happened over the last 7 years to get us to where we are today. There's the ad for the country fair on the left. On the right, I just wanted to point out that kids have been a really strong centerpiece of the Westend Food Co-op development, and when we opened, we actually had a kids' play area in the store itself, as well as tables for parents to spend time at while kids were occupied. We've made some changes to our structure based on realizations about profit centers within the business, and we were not able to keep open our lunch counter the way we had as we first opened. But in place of that, we've started offering kids programming so that there are special events families can come to, different cooking classes, as well as arts and crafts and things of that nature. So this is the food hub itself, which opened 2 years ago this October. And there was a lot of joking around that we waited a long time just so we could open in the year of the co-op, which was 2012. But it took us a while to get to this point, and it took the efforts of a whole community. We had volunteers in there stocking shelves up to, I'd say 1 or 2 in the morning the day before the store doors opened. But it's really been an amazing thing to see it come together like this in this manifestation of a real physical space in Parkdale. So we're right on the edge of Queen and Dufferin. And we are partnered with the Parkdale Community Health Centre as a tenant in their basement. So you can sort of tell you're in a basement there, the windows are up high, but it suits us quite well for now. I wanted to talk just a little bit about member engagement. This has been a key piece of our co-op development, and it is for all co-ops who are sort of outward facing. For worker co-ops, I think Abram might tell you it's a slightly different member engagement practice. But for us, it means offering things like member appreciation days. So once a month, reliably, on a Wednesday, we will offer a discount day at the store for everybody who's a member. And our membership structure, though we are multi-stakeholder, has a very low barrier to entry. So it's a $5 once-in-a-lifetime membership, exactly like Mountain Equipment Co-op, which is both a blessing and a curse, and we can talk about that more if anyone would like. But in order to keep members engaged, because the barrier to access is so low, we have to think creatively about other kinds of techniques and programs and opportunities we can offer our members to keep them in the fold. Another thing that we offer is a Farmer Direct program. So throughout the growing season, through collaborations with our producer members, we'll offer bulk amounts of whatever is in season, whether that's tomatoes, peaches. At this point in time, we're offering lavender as well because our farmer is also growing that. But it's an excellent benefit and a perk for members to be able to come and from downtown Toronto pick up flats and flats of fruit to can or to share or to bake. So it's been a great program as well. I couldn't do a whole presentation without giving deep gratitude to volunteers, because volunteers have made this co-op what it is today. And we've had for the longest time 2 incredibly dedicated volunteer coordinators who have just done miracles in order to make the store function in the way it should when we struggled to make the operations run at certain points in time. So these are some of our key volunteers, and there's one worker there as well who are stocking the shelves on before opening day. We do lots of other things. I'm going to run through them pretty quickly, but we offer workshops periodically, all to do with food skills and building that sort of development in our community. And we have a robust co-op kitchen which is producing prepared foods for people to purchase. So there's just an example here of a Westend food co-op turkey pot pie, but it's one of many different things that we offer. And here's one really lovely innovation of the co-op, which is called the Community-Supported Orchard, which feeds into our community cannery. So throughout the growing season and also the autumn months as it's the harvesting season, we are running this program where people can buy into a share of an orchard, essentially, and we are bringing in all the fruit that they've bought and teaching and sort of collaborating around canning processes. So it's an incredible skill building thing. It allows people to take home canned goods to put in their pantry for the winter, but also to stock our shelves with canned things that we're selling. This is a fundraiser that has just passed, the Ride for Real Food, and it is another innovative program the Westend Food Co-op has embarked upon in order to address its food security mission or mandate. And it's a collaboration between our community partner organizations. It's essentially a bike-a-thon fundraiser where the riders are raising money. The money that they're raising goes into a program we call Co-op Credit. And this is a program that is carried out by our community partners and the Westend Food Co-op in order to offer credit to buy food through volunteer service at either the community partner organizations or the co-op itself. So some of the kinds of things people are doing in order to earn their co-op credit are growing food in the Greenest City gardens. Some of them are doing kitchen work at the Westend Food Co-op. And these are community members that have been identified by our community partners as needing extra support around food access. But what they end up with is not anything that would separate them from anyone else coming into the co-op to shop. It's essentially a gift certificate. So we're trying as hard as possible to erase the stigma around accessing a program like this, but also paying a very decent wage at a rate of $18 an hour for their volunteer time, none of which gets clawed back. So unlike other sorts of support programs, because it's a credit, it's going directly towards the purchase of their food. They receive the full value of that money. So the bike fundraiser, the money from that is going directly into the co-op credit program. And we just finished tallying all of our funds from this particular year's ride, and we made $32,000 on that ride, which is phenomenal. We estimate $600 is enough to feed one person for a year through Co-op Cred. So you can do the quick math. We're going to be able to feed a lot of people this year, which is phenomenal. And not only feed, but get them involved in the community. And there's a video I didn't have time to add into this presentation, but it's those folks who benefit from the program, who we call co-op ambassadors, sharing their amazing stories of transformation through this program, whether it's eating healthier, dealing with diabetes, developing friends they never knew they might find, developing that sense of inclusion within a community. So it's been an incredible program. Here's a little bit more imagery from the Ride for Real Food. On the left, there's our co-op coordinator. This was for Abram. The tie-in between cargo bikes and food and co-ops is very intimate. And here on the right is one of our youngest riders. So the rides we offer were 30, 60, and 110 kilometers, I believe. And this is the son of one of the founders who's been doing the ride probably since he could ride for quite a while. And the support of the community on the road there. You can do it. That was written just for him. I wanted to just touch on co-op identity, and Peter had mentioned to you earlier that the Co-operators is indeed a co-op, even though not many people know that. But they run an interesting program as of late called the National Co-operators Challenge, and it's a social media contest in effect, but it's offering funding to co-ops in every region of the country in order to spur on their co-op development. So Westend was the lucky recipient of one of their prizes a few years back. And this is sort of tied into this general principle of cooperation among cooperatives. So we've talked about those 7 identities or principles that all co-ops share, and this is the 6th of those 7. This is an image of one of our key producer members. This is John from Clover Road Organic Farms, and he is a board member not only with the Westend Food Co-op, but he's also a board member with the Mustard Seed Co-op. So there's a really interesting example of how much we share. There are no secrets between us. We all know exactly what's going on in the boardrooms of each co-op, and that's desirable because it means we can share our best practices in order to be growing our co-ops more strongly together. And here's just another sort of smattering of co-op to co-op collaborations. So on the bottom right, we like to share that in our cafe we offer Toronto Bee Co-op honey. The top left is an example of the renovations that we did in our store were through the Fourth Peg Worker Cooperative, and they're a green and natural building co-op they offer their services to retail operations but also to homeowners and individuals. And on the bottom left there, you can see, it's a little bit difficult to see, but the far left jar of tomato sauce there is from the Ontario Natural Food Co-op. So selling co-op products as well as buying through the co-op distributor. So there's a very strong ethic of business building co-op to co-op that we're strengthening the whole chain, because we all know very clearly that co-op enterprises keep more value within communities. So the more we can be doing our interactions with each other, the more we're strengthening the whole supply chain. So just a final thought to leave you with there. I like to talk about the network as a whole, as well as the Westend Food Co-op as a food democracy or a gastro-democracy. There's a lot of interest in this idea of food citizenship and food sovereignty at the moment. And this is a thing that personally drew me in, that we are living in a food system and a broader system that keeps us very alienated from its origins. And food co-ops are a really interesting way for people to connect right back in, whether it's making decisions about what products will live on the shelves or how many pounds of beets can you bicycle up a hill to in Hamilton. It gets you sort of intimately involved with your food in a way that's healthy in rebuilding our whole broken food system. So this is just, for those that can't read it at the back, maybe it says, the main challenge for food democracy is moving citizens from passive to active, getting citizens engaged in their food system. The alternative food movement is rapidly growing, but all individuals need to be involved or vote to create a truly representative food system. And we could say this for our whole broader economic system. We need to move from this sense of passivity to action. So join us. There are lots of ways to get involved. You can come and shop at the Westend Food Co-op. You can get involved in a committee. You can join a board. But beyond this, you can get involved in a co-op that's in your neighborhood. So the Local Organic Food Co-ops Network, I don't have the website up here, but it is cultivatingfoodcoops.net. And there is a yellow page directory of the food co-ops in Ontario, so you can quickly and easily find out who they are, where they are, and how you might plug yourself into them. So we'd really love to involve you and see you become more engaged in your food system. I think I'll leave it there, unless there are questions.